All right, we're here with head softball coach Christine Grenache, but she's not here to talk with us about softball today for the most part. She's also one of the heads of our athletic leadership program, which is under the umbrella of Life as an Athlete now. And coach, just give a quick overview on the program now for our fans who probably aren't as familiar with it.
Sure, so this is our third year in terms of the athlete leadership program, and we've been fortunate enough to partner with the Life of an Athlete program and the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association for this past year. So we've been able to, we work with 2 athletes per sport, and we work with the fall and the spring athletes. In September, the winter athletes join them as well. And this year, through the opportunity of that grant, we were able to bring both an outside speaker and the Navy SEALs in to train those folks.
All right, and I was going to ask you to talk about the events that you just had. It was just a couple weeks ago here to start the year.
Yeah, so we bring some of our athletes back early. Some of them are already here due to their preseason training, and we go through 2 days of this leadership training. One day is primarily run by myself and our men's ice hockey coach, Jaymie Harrington. And that's a lot of classroom work where we go through different leadership styles, help the athletes identify what they're strong at from a leadership perspective and what they might need to work on a little bit, or how they can combine their skills with other leaders on their team to really put a good foot forward in terms of the leadership of their program. They also evaluate the commitment levels of their teammates so that they can really think about how that can affect their program development, and at the end of the day, put more wins on the board as well. The second day of that training is when we had John Underwood came back to campus, and he had been here this past spring as well for a couple of workshops. He came back to campus and met with that group and talked to them a lot about some ways to improve their nutritional habits, their sleep habits, and how all that can affect their performance. And that was paired with a training session with the Navy SEALs in the afternoon. You were there for part of that. And I think the big thing about that is the athletes were really able to test their ability to be leaders and sometimes be followers in a situation where they are under some stress. It's easy to sit in a classroom and say, like, oh, this is what I would do, or this is how I would act, but when you're in that situation, are you really standing right? Are you jumping into the pond? Are you really standing by those principles? And in conversations with the athletes afterwards, they talked a lot about how they ran through probably 6 to 8 relays, I would say, and by the end of the third one, there were a lot of them that were like, oh, I can't do another one, but they did, but they did the next one, and they did the one after that, and I think that was a real confidence builder for some of them as well.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, because we've got a wide range of student athletes. Some of them are better conditioned than others. Some of them are better at their sports than others. It's just the fact of life. But everybody who was there finished the day.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. You as a coach, obviously the coach of the softball team too. What have you seen specifically your girls get out of this program?
Well, interestingly enough, so the 2 players that I sent to the program this year were my 2 catchers. One is a sophomore and one is a junior, and obviously, they're automatically in a leadership position on the field.
Right.
Neither one of them are captains at this point in their careers, but I think that they really took a lot from that in terms of how they need to serve as leaders without a title, and how important that can be for the program as well. In previous years, softball-wise, we tend to send our younger or our emerging leaders into this program, and I think it's really served them well in terms of how they think about leadership as they get put into a leadership role in their future years.
All right. Let's take it even a little wider now. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the other coaches in the department? Are they seeing similar gains in their kids?
I think so. Even when we were doing that Navy SEAL training, we one of the things we talk to the athletes about on the first day is they evaluate their own program on this commitment continuum, and there's different categories that themselves and their teammates fall into. And as they were going through the training with the SEALs, they were commenting on, not really feeling like I'm still in the compelled category here, like I'm sliding down the continuum a little bit. And for as much as they were kind of busting on each other a little bit. It shows that they're connecting those things. You know, and in terms of the other coaches, I mean, we receive a lot of good feedback in terms of mostly the confidence level that their leaders come back with, that they feel both energized and well informed and well equipped to, you know, to take on whatever leadership role that they have. You know, and it's our hope that moving forward we can continue that dialogue with the other coaches in the department, so that if they feel you know, that their leaders need more training in any area, that's something that we can work to provide.
All right. Traditionally, you've done a second session in the winter for the fall athletes who are too busy in preseason to really be a part of it. Is that going on this year as well?
Yeah, because we are a part of this grant for this year. We were fortunate enough to have some of the fall athletes with us, you know, just a couple weeks ago. But we will be running a second session in January to make sure that we bring that training full circle for those folks, because they were only there kind of intermittently when we did it last week. But
any plans for that second session yet, or is it still kind of?
It's still in the works. Okay. You know, we are entering the final phases of the grant funding, and so we want to be sure that you know, that we use those funds appropriately. But you know, hopefully we can bring some other folks back to campus, and maybe some of the, you know, the fall and the spring athletes can hop onto that as well. But the basic, you know, curriculum, I guess we could say, of the leadership program that Jaymie and myself put on, that will stay pretty consistent. And we have gotten, like I said, good feedback from the coaches and from the athletes about, you know, what that does for them. And I think one of the better parts about it is that you put these, you know, these leaders of different athletic programs in a room together, and they all know each other, you know, for sure, but do they sit down and talk about these things on their own time? Probably not. You know, but we find that different programs handle very similar issues across the year. You know, whether it's a teammate that's not playing a lot and is struggling with that, or you know, trying to develop that team chemistry or resolving conflict. And so as they start to talk about those things when we're in that classroom, very often you'll get, you know, a leader from another team be like, oh, we had a similar situation and here's how we handled it. And I think that peer-to-peer conversation is really beneficial.
All right. So that's the leadership program this year. Future long-range goals for the program. What are you guys looking to do, whether it's later this year, next year, 2 years down the road?
This, the work with John Underwood and particularly the Navy SEALs has been a real positive for us, and they feel the same. We've gotten some great feedback from them after their visit that, you know, really some compliments to our student athletes that they go to a lot of schools and they do this at a lot of places, and they were really impressed with the level of you know, coachability, I'll say, and just commitment to the things that they brought to them. So they'd really like to keep that relationship moving forward, you know, even when we're outside of the grant. I think the model that we use with the training in late August and then one in January is effective. I think that it allows all the athletic programs to be involved. So I think that that's a model that will continue, but we'd love to get more coaches' involvement as well. I'm sure my voice gets a little old, you know, over the course of a few days.
Girls, right?
Right. They'll tell you. They'll be number one on the list, I'm sure. But I think, you know, that's something that would be really beneficial, because, you know, you as an athlete, you listen. I mean, you like to listen to other coaches and get different views, but I mean, you have a certain respect for your own coach as well, and so. And they have different, you know, styles of leadership within themselves, and I think it's a great thing for our athletes to learn that there's not one cookie cutter style of leadership, and that it can be effective in different ways, and that keeping the lines of communication open between you and your coaching staff is really critical to being a good leader for your program. Make sure that, you know, your coach's expectations of you as a captain or as a leader are clear, because that's when you're going to really reap the benefits of that.
Gotcha. So that's the leadership program. But before we let you go, quickly we're getting to a theme in these interviews. We talked about it with our own athletic communications student staff. We made them, as an icebreaker, share something just really, really dumb about themselves. We've got our grad assistant fist pumps way too much. We've got a student worker who just says the word dude all the time. I personally, what I shared was that I have no dance moves, but it doesn't stop me from dancing it. So before we let you go, give us just something ridiculously dumb about yourself.
My team really gives it to me about this a lot, where if we're having like a team discussion or if we're in the huddle between innings, that I talk with my hands a lot.
No.
But this is like my standard like motion to go, like we go in the circle and everyone puts their hands in and like my hand goes like this and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and I don't know. But it just kind of happens. So that's not really that stupid. Usually my fun fact, my go-to fun fact is that my sister and I have the same birthday, but we're a year apart. So like same day and like 12 minutes apart, so like almost exactly at the same time. So that's usually my go-to fun fact. But I'll have to wait for interview number 2 to like really share a stupid moment for you guys, I guess.
All right, there you go. That's head coach Christine Grenache of the softball program. She's also one of the leaders of the Life of an Athlete Leadership Program. Thanks, Coach.
Sure.